When you think of volcanic eruptions, you might picture Hawaii or Indonesia, but not necessarily the contiguous United States. At least I don't, but maybe that's because I grew up in the Midwest and the threat of volcanic eruptions has never really been something that crossed my mind. However, if you live in the Pacific Northwest, especially if you live close to Mount St. Helens, well, you probably know better than the rest of us the sheer power contained within the Cascade Mountains. Today, perhaps with a bit of morbid curiosity, we visit Mount St. Helens to witness firsthand the landscape forever changed by the most destructive eruption in U.S. history. Good morning, everyone. We are back on the road. Our final destination today is going to be Seattle, but on the way we're going to stop at Mount St. Helens, do a hike with a view of the mountain, check it out. We're going to see how far we can get because the road is possibly closed where we want to go, so hopefully we can get to our hike. Either way, I would just like to see Mount St. Helens. If you've watched our other videos so far, you will have seen the first few legs of our West Coast road trip. This is the Washington portion. This is kind of our last stretch before we just kind of book it back home down to San Diego. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned to see Washington. We are at the Mount St. Helens Visitor Center, which is closed. So that sucks, but it's got this really cool view of Mount St. Helens. So it turns out that although the visitor center closer to Castle Rock was closed, the Mount St. Helens Forest Learning Center closer to the mountain was open, so we made a pit stop here before our hike. This learning center is built in what was the blast zone of the 1980 eruption, which is crazy to think about because you can see how far we are from the mountain. And if you don't know about Mount St. Helens, it is a stratovolcano in the Cascade Mountain range, just like Mount Hood, Rainier, Baker, but Mount St. Helens is actually the most active in the Cascade range, as evidenced by the eruption that occurred May 18, 1980, where it blew out the north side of the mountain and killed 57 people. The most recent eruption was a continual eruption from 2004 to 2008, but that was nowhere near as explosive as the one in 1980. And to this day, it still smokes and vents out gas every so often. The Forest Center takes you through the days leading up to the eruption, the day of the eruption, and then the aftermath and how they kind of recovered. I think the most interesting fact I learned here was that the sound waves of the eruption were pushed upward and reflected back and forth between the ground and the atmosphere, creating pockets of silence where the eruption was not heard, including a 60-mile radius around the mountain. So anyone within 60 miles did not hear the actual eruption, which is pretty terrifying, but also really fascinating. I think it's also really interesting to note that a large amount of the destruction during the eruption came not only from rock and gas, but also from water. When the eruption happened, all that heat melted the snow in the glaciers on the mountain, and all of that water mixed with debris to create a lahar. And a lot of this debris also plummeted into Spirit Lake, which is north of the mountain, and caused a tsunami over 800 feet tall. And to this day, there are still logs floating on the lake from the 1980 eruption.
And Mount St. Helens traffic. This is helicopter 04 Whiskey. We'll be departing the Forest Learning Center for the crater of Mount St. Helens. Okay, co-pilot, while the engine warms, let's go over the controls. The stick in front of you is called the cyclic. It controls the direction that we go. If you center it and add power, we would go straight up. The stick to your left is called the collective. It controls our power.
Alright, we are on the Hummocks Trail at Mount St. Helens. It's really one of the only trails that's open right now. we're already like way closer to the mountain than I thought we would be, so that's really nice. I'm hoping for some really good views on this trail. It's about 2.5 miles, and then after that we'll be back on the road to Seattle. But it's very beautiful. It's crazy imagining like what this area looked like, or would have looked like right after the eruption. But it looks like it's rebounding. 45 years later, obviously it's going to be in a lot better state.
Very different from everywhere else we've hiked up here so far. It's not all pine trees. And...
yeah. Lots of ferns though. So right here you get a really good look at what the hummocks are that gave this trail its name. Hummocks in general are just smaller hills or mounds above ground, and in this case they are large mounds of volcanic rock and gravel that were created in the landslide from the eruption, and this actually occurs around many volcanoes around the world, but this specific eruption helped us understand the phenomenon more. And now here we are 45 years later, and we get to see how the plants and the wildlife have started to reclaim this new landscape. Oh, we got so lucky. It was such a beautiful day. Wow.
We heard it tonight. I think we'll get there for a reasonable time to chill out.
It's like boggier here than I would have thought it would be.
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be so many wetlands. Wow.
Sheesh. The river's nearby.
Yeah, you can hear it. That's really cool. I mean, we're really just hiking through the, after effects of the volcano. And this landscape's been totally changed. Wow. It feels very like, wow.
Feel that breeze coming in.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
Like the hike and the topography is very reminiscent of like sand dunes.
Yeah.
And like hiking in dune areas.
Yeah, it's very soft.
Like it's very, like the way the trail goes, the way the kind of crests of the mounds fall off.
It's only 50 years old.
Yeah, I think that's why it reminds me of sand dunes, is the way that it's like being recolonized by the plants. Like, just feels the same. I can't think of like the words right now of the science. I guess, like, my mind is going blank. But the way that I feel like these are kind of stabilized by the plant life, and you kind of see in the pioneer species more. Yeah, I think that's why it reminds me of dunes. And I mean, yeah, like, it probably is just a lot of ash and just debris. And so it probably kind of acts the same way as the sand, and why it's sculpted the way it is. I wonder, like, how the flow of the river was disrupted, and how it's either like changed paths, or how long it's taken to kind of cut back through some of this.
Like, our parents are older than this landscape.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. There she is.
Don't fall, that'd be so embarrassing. I made it. What? Guess what it reminds me of? Missouri. I swear. I want to disrupt it so bad, but
It's odd. Wow.
well, I want to disrupt it so bad.
I bet it, like, if it rains, probably flows a lot faster. Yeah, this trail is not what we expected at all. It's so beautiful. I don't know what I expected, but it's like very diverse. You get a lot of different scenes, the wetlands, the hummocks, the hills, and the mountain. We had a much better view of the mountain than I thought we were gonna have, based off of like pictures on all trails. Made it look so far away, but it's right there. It's beautiful. And it's a really easy hike too. Like, it's been relatively flat. Yeah, highly recommend. But it makes me want to come back and do so many more hikes in the area.
And this part, like, reminds me of like South Dakota.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's still pine trees, but it's not super thick. Oh.
Got some beaver activity. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you want to see what we get up to in the Seattle area, don't miss my next video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or even subscribing. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.